Hello and welcome to Cutting Words. I'm Brad Thompson, and today we're going to take a look at Journeys through Radiant Citadel, the latest book release from Wizards of the Coast. This D&D book is an anthology of 13 adventures for character levels 1 through 14. It includes a hub world in Chapter 1, the Radiant Citadel itself, a crystal in the ethereal plane, which I read through and covered a bit on in the video. They'll be linked above in the little top corner there, as they released that ahead of time, as well as includes 11 new monster stats. And that's it. There's no new magic items or anything else, new character options like that. It's just 13 adventures, a hub world chapter, and 11 new monster stats. That's the contents of Journeys through the Radiant Citadel. So if you're familiar with Candlekeep Mysteries, it came out almost a year ago now. Yes. What is time during the pandemic? Is much like that, an anthology set where you have a series of a different writer for each chapter, adventure, and they kind of flow on. Well, not so much flow on. There's a connecting hub world, so you can go back and forth, and designed to be connected or dropped in into your own homebrew world, that sort of thing, throughout. However, a point of difference between, say, Candlekeep Mysteries anthology and Journeys through the Radiant Citadel anthology is, with Journeys through the Radiant Citadel, they, Wizards, took upon themselves to make sure all their writers for this book were of people of color and have a diverse culture and try and represent more culture in these adventures and different societies, being D&D, being traditionally pretty much based off European mythology and history. So it's quite refreshing to see different representation there and seeing different ideas and themes and myths threaded through into a D&D adventure. So what they've done with Journeys through Radiant Citadel is each chapter, each adventure covers a different culture, different society. So it has a write-up, a gazetteer on that society and culture. So in each chapter they have that, as well as an adventure to run in that society, which is a great idea in principle. But if you got the setting right up, much like in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft book that came out, where you had different domains of dread that were written up, had different setting write-ups. Not much in the way of adventures though. Then you got Candlekeep Mysteries, which book same size as Van Richten's. Then you got that many adventures written up in there, and just adventures, no setting. So you take those two books, combine them together into same word count, same page count, Journeys through the Radiant Citadel, and you see a bit of a problem there. So it is, I feel this book definitely suffers from, they didn't give the writers enough space to write. They have a fleshed out setting and a fleshed out adventure. So I feel the common themes throughout this book, there's a few common themes throughout this book, but a big one that big stumbling block is definitely the lack of word count. I really wish they gave the writers more space to write, or maybe had less adventures, but I'll flesh out a few of them and expand across other books. Or yeah, I feel like Radiant Citadel definitely from the outset has a few issues with word count. So, which can mean if you're expecting to pick up Journeys through Radiant Citadel, just pick it up and open it up and run a chapter out of this. It requires a little bit more work from the Dungeon Master to kind of fill in some of the blanks and make a few tweaks here and there to kind of flesh it out, as is not a fully ready to go, in my opinion, adventurer, as they had to fill in the setting as well as the adventure in the same space as other adventures would have had just the adventure to worry about. So it does suffer a little bit there, and you need to go through carefully ahead of time and kind of add a few bits. It requires a little bit more work from the Dungeon Master to get it going off the ground. So that's one thing to be wary of with this book. I would recommend Journeys through Radiant Citadel for someone who's looking for ideas and inspiration for a homebrew world, your own home game. You're looking at wanting to learn how to implement certain cultures or have ideas on how to work certain cultures and themes into your own home game. I think definitely Journeys through Radiant Citadel is the book is definitely a book for dungeon masters, especially ones who are looking for ways of adding more culture and more diversity into their games, and getting some adventure ideas from that as well. There's what I think Dynasty Radiant Citadel book is for. If you're a player, there's no player options in here. Don't bother with this. If you're looking for just picking a book up and just running it straight, I wouldn't recommend this book for that either. Reading through this whole book now, the Radiant Citadel is not really utilized at all for any of the adventures, which seems like a shame. I believe there was an interview with the writer and project lead of the Radiant Citadel, Ajit George, and he stated that he wrote that chapter 1, the hub world Radiant Citadel chapter, after all the other chapters were completed, to try and get the Citadel more situated to connect up with those chapters, but other adventures, the chapters there, but which also meant there wasn't really anything in those adventures that tied them back to the Radiant Citadel, apart from a blurb at the start of the adventure saying, hey, you know, if players get here from Radiant Citadel, they arrive here. And this, along with the in the same blurb, it also goes, if you're playing a Forgotten Realms adventure, maybe this this land, this culture could be located here in the Forgotten Realms, etc. So there's not much connecting there. If you're picking up this book thinking you'll get a cohesive adventure you can run from start to finish, levels 1 through 14, just running just this book, you'll be a bit disappointed there. And speaking of cohesion, I guess, throughout them all, majority of the adventures, so most of these adventures are all situated around festivals. So yeah, so I guess when all writers go off and they write the adventures and submit it after the fact, yeah, it just happened to be a lot of people decide to base the adventure around festivals, which makes sense because if you're trying to showcase a culture, society, an easy way to do that is to base it around a festival or holiday of some sort for that culture to really help showcase it. And just a lot of writers had that same great idea, and so we have the planar adventures of pub crawls, yeah, just back-to-back festivals here for a lot of these adventures, which is amusing. But yeah, there's a festival theme going on throughout the majority of this book. Another interesting note going through this adventure is they use, for a book that was definitely really struggling to fit everything because of word count. They, across all the adventures, I know someone really likes dwarves. Whoever worked on someone on this project really liked dwarves, because they thought they had to mention at least 9 times throughout this entire book and different adventures throughout that if a dwarf has stone cunning, they have advantage on this check. This seems unnecessary to mention. If they're stone cunning, that ability will just give them a bonus. It's already stated in the dwarf ability. I feel like it's unnecessary to tell a DM, hey, if you're a dwarf player, have a dwarf player playing this game right now, and they got stone cunning, they can have advantage right here. I feel like as a DM, I can make that call. I don't need the book to tell me that. It seems like an interesting use of word count there, just to have that little dwarf tidbit. Like someone working on this project really liked dwarves, because they're mentioned throughout. That's quite amusing. Dwarves and festivals. All right. As for the 11 new monsters in this adventure, none of them are particularly excitingly different. Like there's they're all different new monsters, but nothing really jumped out at me too much as, oh, that's a new interesting ability there. I haven't seen a monster do before. I think the closest we got to something interesting new would be the Haint, which is a new type of undead ghost. But it's got a special ability here, a bonus action, Shed Sorrow. The Haint targets one creature it can see within 60 feet of itself. Doesn't missing any hit points, sharing its own torment with the pain soul. The target must succeed on a DC 14 wisdom saving throw or be incapacitated. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, end the effect on itself on success. Every creature saving throw is successful in effect, end for it, and the creature is immune to the Haint's Shed Sorrow for the next 24 hours. So, dishing out incapacitated condition, especially as a bonus action on the Haint, is quite devastating, and it's not really dished out too often, the incapacitated, because there's not really any means in the game to fix incapacitated. can't create a restoration or less restoration that away. Can't dispel, it's not magic. Oh, I guess you can. It's always an interesting one. What one qualifies as magic, I guess. I guess technically you can argue it's magic. But yeah, it is definitely a condition you can't just remove, can't just fix, and will be immune to. It just works, which is why spells in the game and things like that that dish out that condition can be so devastating, because things aren't really immune to incapacitated. And that's what makes Shed Sorrow here on the Haint ability quite potent. Another noteworthy creature would be the Ravine, just because, hey, it's a Fae, challenge rating 12 Fae. We don't actually have many high challenge rating Fae, so it's nice to have another one to add to the collection to choose from when we need a Fae monster here. This is a River Fae. So yeah, the Ravine. A lot of the classic monsters return as well in this book, though again, there's definitely some monsters you'll fight a few times across the adventures and go, oh, it's these again. Do we really need to fight 3 aboleths? Apparently yes you do. 3 aboleths. Someone's put the A in the monster manual and went, oh, aboleth, that sounds good. So throughout this you'll be fighting 3 of those. There's technically, I guess you could argue, 1 new magic item. The Hammock of Worlds. It is a well of many worlds, but it's a hammock. I don't know why it needed to be a hammock. It seems a little impractical for a planar travel device. You have a nap in a hammock and you plane shift. I don't know. Do you have to thread it between trees or something to make it work? But yeah, it's a Hammock of Worlds. You just jump in that hammock or something and you plane shift. So there we go. Hammock of Worlds. Why is it a hammock? Because Hammock of Worlds. My top adventures in this book are the Night Sea Sucker, which is a level 12 adventure. And this one is set predominantly under the ocean. So you start off in the coastal city where there's multiple factions all interested in retrieving some sunken treasure, effectively. Long lost lore. It was lost to sea long ago, and different factions have different things they want with it, and so dealing with a lot of different factions there. And then eventually you go down, travel across the ocean, some travel sea encounters, ghost pirates like, and head down under the water to the other half of society, which splintered off long ago and now lives under the sea. And doing factions there as well to eventually find the sunken treasure and fighting lost, surprise surprise, and some flame scales. Flame scales definitely don't work so well underwater, so definitely the combat in this book, in this adventure, definitely some reworking. Is very an aboleth and some flame scales that have half damage because they're fire underwater. Is definitely not very challenging for a party level 12s. So the combats in the adventure definitely need work, but I think this adventure actually utilizes the setting and all the different factions, and dealing with the different faction politics and which faction you'll team up with, and kind of showcases the setting the best, in my opinion, of the adventures. So definitely Night Sea Sucker, I think, is definitely one to check out. Another favorite is Buried Dynasty, a level 13 adventure, where players get embroiled in politics and then sent on a dungeon delve to under the city to old ruins looking for MacGuffins, and then it's pretty cool. I really like the setup in this. I really like the politics and the dungeon delving, all tied together really well. Unfortunately, it suffers from getting cut short because of word count, so suddenly everything's kind of suddenly escalates very quickly all of a sudden, just because we ran our word count. We gotta get something wrapped up now, and so things kind of get tied up a little too quickly. But I think a DM could easily pad that out more and have more going on there. But I think I really like the stuff in Buried Dynasty. Definitely want to check out if you want one who likes the politics, the dungeon delving. It's got all that, and it does it really well. And shout out to Buried Dynasty for their lore there with their whole thing about being ruled by dwarves and the long life as being key to the right to rule. And there was a case of a human usurper who dethroned the dwarf emperor or Empress, I think it was at the time, and then she just built herself a bed and took a nap and waited for the human usurper to die, and then she reclaimed her throne. And that's kind of the myth they work with there, and it just kind of, that one definitely took my fancy there. So definitely want to check out Berry Dynasty. An interesting one that jumped out to me was Orchids of the Invisible Mountain. This is a level 14 adventure, the final adventure in the book, and I feel like the writer got the brief. I understand you want me to build a society here and explore that, but I kind of want to do a planar adventure, jump between some different planes, and so I'm just going to do that. So you start off in, you know, they're sitting on the material plane, but then you quickly end up planar jumping across multiple planes, solving planar problems. Yeah, so the writer is kind of like, I'll technically fill your brief, but I want to do a planar adventure. It's what it comes across as. I really want to do a planar adventure, so I'm just going to do that. Which, fair enough. It's definitely a fun ride. And the final location, final planar location is quite a unique one and quite cool. We end up in the Far Realm. And yeah, some creepy stuff going on there, ultimately. Though I feel like you could easily tweak that to be the Shadowfell, because definitely the adventure is all about the balance between the Feywild and the Far Realm. It was like, well, I thought Shadowfell, being more the mirror of the Feywild, would have worked, lined up better, but well, whatever. It works, I guess. Yeah, it's Orchids of the Invisible Mountain. I will shout out Salt Legacy, the level 1 adventure, as it has a bunch of market mini games in there, which are great inspiration if you're looking for more mini games to put in your adventures. Definitely something to check out there to when you're wanting to pad out more, say, festival games, if you're running a festival, that sort of thing. Definitely want to look out, check out there for any content like that. Final note about the book, Dynasty Radiant Citadel, which the hard copy finally arrived for me. Took a while to get here. Thank goodness for D&D Beyond, so I could read it digitally before while I was waiting for it to arrive. But when it did finally arrive, I was a little disappointed. Clearly still working out the kinks for printing, or some printing issues still there, as there's an issue here. So the page is stuck together. Yeah. Camera there. So that page is stuck together. So I'm not sure what happened there with the printing. So I'll need to reach out and see if we can get a replacement there to fix that up. Yeah, just a bit disappointed. I was like, oh, finally, I got it. And then it, yeah, it was damaged. Bit unfortunate, but oh well. I haven't had that happen before. Have you had a D&D book? You arrive and you get it, and some of the pages stuck together, or any kind of damage like that? What do you normally do when that happens? Let me know in the comments below if you encountered that. Anyway, that's Dynasty Radiant Citadel. Yeah, interesting anthology adventure. I definitely think there's potential here. I wish they would do more. Give the writers more room to breathe, write more. As there's definitely some gems in here of inspiration, but definitely requires a bit more work from the DM to expand upon and build what they've got here. I would have liked a product where I could just sit down and run it straight without having to do any prep, so I quite like about pre-written adventures and things where less work for me. Fantastic, I can sit down and run it. This one I feel like it's not quite there where I feel like I can just sit down and run this. I feel like there's still a little bit more work needed to do, where it's like, oh, I would wish the book was slightly bigger, could fit a bit more in. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Dynasty Radiant Citadel. Alright, I'm Brad Thompson, and this has been Cutting Words. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel. It means you don't miss these videos as they pop up on the YouTubes on the regular. Otherwise, until next time, happy gaming, and see ya.